Attorney Lenore. I am reaching out to discuss proceeding with a divorce from my husband. We have two preteen daughters, and while I am concerned about the breakup with their father, I am more concerned if they will be okay. I've seen several friends go through divorces, and their children have adjusted well over time, but I'm worried that my children may not do well. Are there circumstances when kids don't do well from their parents' divorce and the reason for that? Sincerely, looking out for the kids.
When they don't do well, it's when the parents aren't focused on that. It's when the parents are projecting their own needs and wants on them. The children will be okay if you make it okay for them. You will always be a family. You might not be living in the same house, but you'll always be a family. And if you give the children a sense of that, you're a family still, even if you're with mom or dad, but we want you to be happy in both of those houses. And we want you to still feel supported by both of your parents and not caught in the middle. They'll be okay. But if you want to shoot volleys over their heads while they're hiding in their emotional foxhole, you're going to end up with kids that are emotional Swiss cheese. It's up to you too, how the kids do. And if you focus just on them, I think they'll be fine. Natalie, you're the one that gets in the trenches with these people to get them to that point. So I would love to hear your perspective about this.
Well, you're 100% everything you said, and your metaphor about the foxhole and the Swiss. Yeah, I really do think it depends on the parents. Not 100%, a million %. And what type of, are we keeping the children and their emotions and their well-being at the center of the central focus? What services do we have in place? Are we making sure we're talking to the school and the I don't know, the friends that they have, the parents of the friends? Like, do we have a community that's all rallying for these kids too, and making sure, do we have therapists line up if needed, whatever it might be? But at the end of the day, I'd like to be able to tell my parents that their kids aren't going to be touched by this, but they will be. I mean, they will. It's different for every child. It's different for every situation. But they will. And sometimes as humans, we tend to rationalize in one way or another, right? I stay because of my kids, or I leave, they'll be fine. Sally's kids were fine. My kids will be fine. Well, they're only going to be fine if we make this as, what I tell clients to make it as unremarkable as possible. Like, just try not to make it worse. Try not to make it like remarkable, like some big, like you're saying, putting you in the middle of something, or having you get up in front of a judge and choose, or like, how remarkable do we have to make this, right? How, like, leaving marks on them, like you're saying, the Swiss cheese. The other thing that I think most is a very common misconception that I'd like to talk about is I hear many people say, I'm going to wait until my child is 18. I have to say, that is the worst age for a divorce. Worst. 18 years old is the worst age for your child to get divorced, right? It's not recommended.
Why?
And why is that?
Yeah.
And this right. So young children, although it is in their formative years, they are adaptable. Like you're saying. So we have two homes now. We're still a family. It's going to be fine. Still, we'll make it work. 2 Christmases, whatever. Do you know what I mean? When a child is 18, they're starting to form relationships. They're starting to form loving, romantic, hopefully long-term relationships. They're going out on their own for the first time, and we want to send them off without baggage. Like, go live your life. And by the way, we're selling the family home. We're getting divorced, and maybe we'll have a place for you when you come back, but have fun. Go live your dream out there. It's like, wait, what? What's happening? Where do I go when I come back for spring break? Wait, but I thought you guys loved each other. Well, what does that mean for me? What does that mean about love? What does that mean about marriage? What does it mean? All at the age where they're supposed to be launching and discovering all these things, right? So Now, if you skip ahead to 22, 24, it's just better, right? If that's what you're holding on to, like they're going to be 18, they're going to be out of the house. Well, so my suggestion is before or after. It's not, I'm just saying that's my opinion, that's my recommendation, but you can see how that if we're thinking about having the kids in mind, 18 is a rough time to kind of like break that news and kind of break their world, really.
Right. Well, that makes sense. I mean, I always say that the parents, when they're divorcing, are imploding their children's universe. But when a child at that age is launching, it's a complete fault in their foundation. There's just this chasm, and they're like, what's my touchstone? So that makes perfect sense. I didn't even think of it that way until you said it, but that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I'd like to go to the dark side and ask you, so sometimes, well, too often, there is a battle between mother and father about the kids, and it seems intentional that they don't care that the kid is thrown in the middle, and they're making the child choose, even if it's just passive aggressively, who the child wants to be with, or who's the better parent. And I want to know what's behind that. I mean, this is a reason, this to me would be a reason the kids won't be all right, because the parent or parents make that child sit smack dab in the middle of their issues. And one parent is whispering one thing in this child's ear, and the other is whispering something else, and it makes the kid go crazy. Why do we do that?
You know what I mean? You're immature. You are immature. You don't want to face it, but you are immature. You want to get the last word. You want to be right. This is probably why your relationship didn't go well either. But
right.
And if you can't, like, my hope in marriage counseling is that we find a way to yield for the greater good of the relationship. Right? That's the idea. In co-parenting or mediation or post, the marriage is over, what are we going to do next? Is like, okay, now we're going to yield to what's the best for the kid or the family that is left over, whatever that looks like, right? So we don't like to yield. we don't. So it's figuring out why, right? And it's understanding. And I think once they get to Lenore, well, I think mediation is just, of course, in my opinion, a better way of ending a relationship so that it can be good for, especially when kids are involved. But yeah, by the time that they make it to that decision, even when they try to co-parent in my office, it's like they try to get back into like, well, you did this, and I'm like, I don't care who did what. It does not matter. That is individual therapy. That is your own lane. It is not.
Yeah.
Talk about that anymore. We talk about what is happening that's impacting your children and what you need to do to fix that. If your goal is to be good at co-parenting, because right now you're not co-parenting. If you bring all that onto your kids. And that's a big thing. Everybody wants to co-parent, but when they really know what co-parenting is, not many people are doing it successfully.
Right. And one of the things I say to people a lot when they're in front of me trying to settle custody cases is, if you use the same relationship tools that failed you in your marriage, you will fail at co-parenting. You have to get a different set of relationship tools.
Right.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah. It goes back kind of to the work. Like we were the other scenario, that relationships take work, and so does co-parenting. It takes a lot of work, but it also takes a lot of, as you were pointing to, Natalie, inner work. You got to do your own inner work, because you bring some shenanigans to the relationship because of your own past experiences and trauma and beliefs that have to be examined if you really want to do this well for the sake of the kids. And both need to do that. But if just one does it, I think it's better than neither doing it.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, definitely. One of the things I always say is, only one of you has to change your dance steps in order to change the dance. If one of you doesn't follow that toxic tango,
yeah,
You can't do it anymore. But I might have stepped on. So Natalie, what's practical about that people can do?
As far as, I'm sorry, maybe I missed the question.
As just in terms of, dealing with their own stuff and changing their
Yeah.
patterns.
What we know is, we're doing this constantly. I feel like I am anyway. Like, I have 2 kids, and like constantly like, okay, what can I change? What can I do? How can I do better? What can I, the work in my marriage, the work, my actual work, all this stuff, right? There's a hierarchy of needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? And at the top is actualization, because we don't get it at the first step. It's like the top, the pit, right? We don't start out with self-actualization. We have to trudge uphill to get there. And when we are self-actualized, when we are secure, when we feel like we're coming from a really a place of conviction, it's easier to make decisions from that space, right? For co-parenting, for relationships. And some people just need more work getting there than others. And as long as you're not avoidant of that process, it's possible for anyone. No one's going to be perfect, but like you're saying, you change a few steps, a little goes a long way. And it's how well we can let go and cope, and sometimes we just don't have great coping skills for this.
Yeah.